Well, I'm on the corner, bro. I'm on quarantine. I don't care, man. I mean, you don't want me up there.
Call up a local stranger on the phone. Tell them ours, they'll tell us theirs. We'll say thank you when we're through. So make up for all the time spent not talking while watching TV.
I knew I'd see you around.
And I can hear you say yeah. I can hear you say yeah. I can hear you say yeah, 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 yeah. Do, 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 do. That's what we'll do, 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 do. Instead of TV. Instead of backyards, let's tear up all the fences. Plow them all together in one big park. Invite the folks from the inner city and watch our children play. We'll call it the Fenceless Inner City Kids Play Plow Together Park. And I can hear you say yeah. I can hear you say yeah. I can hear you say yeah, 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 yeah. Do, 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 do. That's what we'll do, 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 do. Instead of backyards, instead of getting paid, let's everyone give it our best shot. Do everything we love as hard as we can. Work and trade and share and play and help each other out. 'Cause work and trade, share and play and helping each other means that I gotta get paid. And I can hear you say yeah. I can hear you say yeah. I can hear you say yeah, 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 yeah. Do, 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 do. That's what we'll do, 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 do. Instead of getting paid. Now, before we all freak out, let's feel alright. Instead of flipping out, let's be alright. Instead of feeling alright, let's feel our light and blast off. Let's feel our light and blast off. Let's feel our light. Instead of blowing up, instead of blacking out, instead of throwing up our hands and falling down, instead of getting stabbed or getting bit by a dog, instead of straight losing our beans and lashing out, instead of forgetting to put our keys, instead of being obsessed about brushing our teeth, instead of lying, being mean and stepping on each other's hearts with our cleats, instead of intruding on other people's bees, instead of manufacturing weapons and commanding armies to commit unspeakable deeds, instead of submitting to redundant and arbitrary leadership, instead of neglecting our needs and disbelieving each other, not speaking for weeks, that's what we'll do. Instead. Is anyone here familiar with the concept of sarcasm? Yeah! She's like, no, I've never heard of it. This is a song about the environment. It's about a bad idea I had one time when I was looking up at the moon. Have you ever been to the environment? It's an awesome place. Fine place to haul all of the snow. They'll write their names up there and see it through a telescope. You won't have to smell the yellow stuff, 'cause the wind will never blow. Round up the garbage trucks, come on, it's time to go. Oh, let's pollute the moon, let's do it, let's pollute the moon. This minute, let's pollute the moon and get it out of the way. Get it out of the way. We got plenty of money, so let's put the plan in place. We'll need a fleet of rocket ships to carry all the waste. We'll empty all the landfills and build condos in their place. Can't you smell it now, my friend, as it soars up into space? Oh, let's pollute the moon. Let's do it, let's pollute the moon. This minute, let's pollute the moon. Get it out of the way. Just get it out of the way. Looking out on cool, clear lakes, we'll be breathing clean, fresh air. All the gutters will be uncluttered, and the flies will disappear. Cause that mountain of used diapers will be way the heck up there. Grab a shovel and a shuttle now, we're gonna get prepared. Oh, let's pollute the moon, let's do it, let's pollute the moon. This minute, let's get it out of the way. Just get it out of the way. Let's pollute the moon. Let's do it soon. Let's do it soon. Let's pollute the moon. Let's pollute the moon. Let's do it soon. Let's do it soon. Let's pollute the moon. Let's pollute the moon. Let's do it soon. Let's do it soon. Let's pollute the moon. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here and doing what you believe in. You make a difference. Be safe.
Thank you so much to Ocho. Witness from Mankato, Minnesota today. He is frequently on tour throughout the upper Midwest. You can find all of his upcoming dates on his website, which is available through the marchagainstmonsanto.wordpress.com website, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar with because it's been all over the Facebook page. I am looking for Deborah Ramos or other members of the Zentiodal Project. If you guys could head up this way, you are our next speakers. That aside, wow, look at all of you guys. That was amazing. That was like 2 blocks of March Against Monsanto. And you're all so beautiful with your signs and your outfits. I'm just really on cloud 9. This is awesome. I want to let y'all know that there is water at the red tent in the back on the left if you need a drink. Hopefully you brought your own because we have a limited supply. There are petitions, front white tent, right here. There's a line, but we really hope that y'all really do get over there and sign it. There is so much exciting stuff going on, some of which Nancy Brown from Right to Know will speak to further, including the Minnesota GMO labeling laws, and some to Minnesota legislators on the federal level regarding the Farm Bill, which is going through a lot of really interesting stuff right now. I'm still looking for Deborah.
She's coming. She's right there.
She's coming. Hey! so I'm going to introduce Deborah Ramos. Before I do that, actually, I'll stop and thank Emerald Organic. You're seeing their shirts around. They are one of our very, very kind sponsors today. They have put all of their backing into our petition project. They are distributing water. You should definitely check them out online. That is also available through our blog. Additionally, a big fat thank you to Organic Valley. Yeah. Yes, it's true. I love them. As you guys may have heard, their headquarters caught on fire recently. And they still mustered up the heart and soul to back this event because Organic Valley is the largest organic growers co-op in the world, and they're that cool. Right now, I am going to introduce the Zentiodal Project and Deborah Ramos. Deborah? Hi, I'm Abby. It's nice to meet you. Deborah is the founder and director of the Zentiodal Project. Yes. An organization dedicated to empowering Indigenous Minneapolis residents of the global North and South through the recovery of their ancestral oral traditions, creativity, traditional dance, and gardening methods for the promotion of urban agriculture, equitable access to healthy food, and climate justice. Deborah works to bring justice and equity to the local Minneapolis food and urban agriculture movements, while collaborating with Indigenous and Latino community members through the recovery and reclamation of traditional lifeways through the gardening, farming, Mexican dance, and art. She previously served as the urban agriculture liaison for the Center for Earth, Energy, and Democracy, and is currently a member of the Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council. Very, very excited to hear what she has to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Kwalitanali. Deanna and family, would you like to come up? We'd like to first say that this is a beautiful day for a march against Monsanto, and we're so proud and happy to be here with our Twin Cities community. Thank you to the March Against Monsanto organizing committee for inviting us to be a part of this great event. It's, again, an honor to join our Twin Cities community, the thousands of people across the planet of over 40 countries that are joining together in union to march against Monsanto for the integrity of our seeds, the earth, and the health and well-being of the people. And most importantly, against corporate greed. Again, as mentioned, we're here in representation of the Zentiodal Project. We're also here with our Dakota and Anishinaabe relatives, Standing Cloud family, an honor for them to join us today. And we give thanks to the Dakota people for allowing Minnesota to be our home as well. Again, we're a community gardening group based in central neighborhood Minneapolis. And our principal objective is to grow blue corn. We don't grow corn simply to eat it or because we like it. We grow corn because we are corn. Somos maíz. Also, we do this work in the urban community to establish a relationship with the earth, to understand the changing climate, and to reconnect ourselves with our plant relative corn. And in the process, we recover ourselves, each other, and a sense of community that's been marginalized and shattered. Zentiodal, as you see here in the banner up front, means first energy in Nahuatl. That's one of the original languages of our continent, and now is primarily in the central region of Mexico. Our ancestors, the Mexica people and their ancestors, grew and developed corn for thousands of years. Corn, as we know it today, is approximately 80 to 90,000 years old. And that's how long we, the indigenous people of this continent, have been growing and developing with corn. Therefore, corn and the people are much older than the scientists have said. The genetic modification of corn and other seeds and the contamination of the earth by Monsanto is a direct assault to who we are, where we come from, and to the natural laws of the earth and all living beings. In 2008, in a state of Mexico, a community created and successfully established a law to protect corn and other seeds from genetic modification. Soon after, another state in Mexico adopted the same law. The same law also calls for genetic modified free zones, GM-free zones, to protect ancestral food sources and small farmers. Today, on May 25th, 2013, we have the collective power to declare the Twin Cities and the entire state of Minnesota a GM-free zone. Our food security is in our hands if we work in solidarity with each other, acknowledging first our food sovereignty, that is, as a people's right to define our own policies and strategies for the sustainable production, distribution, and consumption of food with respect to our own cultures, traditional systems for working in relationship and in balance with the earth and the natural environment. We're all familiar with the saying, "You are what you eat." Today we declare that we are not Monsanto, and we will not be genetically modified. Our children will not be genetically modified, and the earth will cease from being contaminated. Taskamati o Meteo. In 15 years that we have had genetically modified foods infiltrate our food system, we have to walk it back. We've been farming for thousands of years. There's no reason that we can't walk this back. As many of you probably know, when the FDA first started regulating these foods in the early 1990s, their own scientists raised concerns about these foods. They said they didn't know what the human implications were on health. They were worried about new allergens. They were overruled by a Bush White House who told the FDA, your job is to support the biotech industry. And that's what they did. We're unusual in this country in that we believe the FDA is protecting us. In Europe, they know their regulatory agencies aren't protecting them. In the United States, we believe that they are. But that's what they did. A former Monsanto attorney wrote the regulations that govern GMOs at the FDA, and to this day, the only safety testing required on GMO foods is done by the agrochemical companies that sell these products. So they become, as you know, widespread in the U.S. food system. Corn, soy, canola, sugar beets, cottonseed. If you're buying it at a grocery store, it's most likely GMO. And this is despite the fact that animal studies link it to infertility, organ damage, cancers, allergies. The University of Minnesota's own Food Policy Research Center found that about half the studies show some risk. And as a parent, I want to say, if I'm taking a risk, if I'm putting my children at risk, the least that I deserve is to know. The least I deserve is to have that information on the label so I can make the decision. All three of my children have food allergies. I've never had a food allergy in my life, so it took me a while to figure out what was going on with them. But if you have young children today, you know that food allergies are epidemic. You can't take cupcakes to a picnic anymore because the kids can't eat them. I went with my 5-year-old son to a birthday party. They served a nut-free, wheat-free, dairy-free cake. Our children's bodies are rejecting normal foods. I've talked to farmers who said they're taking their livestock off GMO feed because their livestock are infertile and they're sick. And we're still feeding these foods to our children. This is the first generation in human history that has been raised since before birth on genetically modified foods. We have no idea what that's going to do. We have yet to find out. What's happening around the world is that people are realizing that their central governments are bought out by the biotech industry. And people are realizing that it's going to be up to them on the grassroots level to make this change. So municipalities around the world are banning GMOs. They're requiring labeling. They're starting to ban imports. They're banning cultivation. This is all happening on the grassroots level, and it's not because of the central government, it's in spite of them that this is happening. Washington, D.C. is no different. As many of you know, more than 1 million comments were sent to the FDA over a year ago, telling them we demand GMO labeling in this country, and they did nothing. And that's why when we started the Coalition of States for GMO Labeling, we started with 14 states, and now we have 37 states, plus Canada. There are people in the U.S. who've been talking about labeling, working on this issue, worried about GMOs for more than 20 years, and they have said they have never seen a grassroots movement like they have seen in the last 2 years. There's also nonprofit advocacy organizations that have worked on this issue. They've been working in isolation on these campaigns, and someone told me from one of those nonprofit advocacy organizations that the entire movement is turned upside down. They are now scrambling to try to support the grassroots energy in this country around this issue. So we've come a long way just in the last couple years. So what can each of us do? This is what it really comes down to, because there's really nobody but us. I'm a full-time mother. I also work. I don't even really have time to work on this. None of us do. But we have to do it. We have to do it, and our children are going to thank us someday. There was a labeling advocate in Connecticut where they just passed, the Connecticut Senate 35-1, passed GMO labeling on Tuesday. The Vermont House, after 2 years of hard work by dedicated volunteers just like all of us, they passed GMO labeling last month. So it's working. The grassroots movement is working. But what I've really realized, and what I think we all need to realize, is no one's going to save us on this one. Nobody's coming to our rescue. The federal government is not coming to our rescue. Even the state's not coming to our rescue. It's really going to be up to us to make great buying decisions and to say we demand GMO labeling.
what you can do. What I'd ask you to do is, number one, call your legislator. People think legislators are hearing from people. They're not really hearing from that many people. If they get 3 or 4 phone calls, it's a groundswell. They know that 300 or 400 people are worried about something, thinking about something, want action on something. So every single call you make to the Minnesota House and the Minnesota Senate saying you support these GMO labeling bills, every single one of those calls counts. We've got an uphill battle in the Minnesota State Capitol because we're an ag state. We grow 80%, 90% GMO corn and soy. But 9 out of 10 of us want GMOs labeled. So we can make it happen. Every one of us who wants GMOs labels needs to take action. Visit your legislator. That's the best thing to do. If you can't visit, call them. If you can't call them, write to them. Sign up on righttoknowmn.org to get involved in this campaign. But most of all, think about how you can help get these bills passed. You know, it just takes creative energy, and it takes people all over the state. We have grassroots community campaigns going on now in cities across the state, and they're going to their local media, and they're getting editorials in their paper, and they're getting on the radio, and they're talking about GMOs. Sunlight is the enemy of Monsanto. What we need to do is we need to get the word out about this, and every one of you can help do that. The industry is set to unveil a national campaign, a public relations campaign to try to defeat these labeling efforts in states across the country. They're going to use moms and farmers. They're going to take them to these conferences where they tell them all the good things about the biotech industry and then ask them to write on their blogs and tell their stories. And they've got tons of money so they can do this. But we've got more people, you know, and we've got the truth on our side. So there's just no doubt that we can win. The tide is already turning, really. I know you know the saying, the first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. The good news is we're in phase 3, okay? They're already fighting us. Somebody asked me about a year and a half ago, have you had any opposition yet? And I said, no, not really. And they said, why not? And I said, because we haven't posed a credible threat. Now we are posing a credible threat in states across the nation. And they're paying attention, and they're waking up, and they're realizing they got to do something about this. They're in damage control. The messages that they've been using are not working anymore. They've been talking about reducing pesticides. It increases pesticides. They're talking about how it's good for farmers. Farmers keep telling us they want to get out of this rat race. So they're off their game, and we have an opportunity. We have a window of time and a moment that we can seize right now to make GMO labeling happen. So we're in phase 3. The 4th phase is winning. We're planning on doing that next year, next legislative session. We're going to have built a powerful statewide campaign, and we're going to let our legislators know that we demand GMO labeling in this state. If the federal government's not going to do it, we're going to take it in our hands and we're going to do it for them. Thank you.
With what Nancy just said in mind, the House of the United States government just passed a farm bill. It's one of their preliminary versions. It's now in the Senate. This farm bill included an amendment called the King Amendment, or the Protect Interstate Commerce Act, that would effectively nullify all state GMO labeling laws. Yeah, super boo. It's like, yes, exactly. Just pop our balloon, that's fine. One of our petitions to Minnesota Congress people is specifically addressing this amendment. It is so important that we let our legislators know that that is not acceptable. We have our labeling bills right there, right now. We can do this. This is our food. It's our food future. Please go sign the petition and please call your representatives. On to happier tones. Clancy's Meats and Fish. They are based in Linden Hills, Minneapolis. Not only, so they've been open 10 years and are still working with the same small farmers in southeastern Minnesota that they have since they opened, but additionally they sell wild game. Cool. Also
want to say thank you to Dale at Green Rock Radio. He had us on last week, and Green Rock Radio sponsored us very, very, very kindly. So thank you so much. Green Rock Radio can be heard on AM 950. If you Google Green Rock Radio, you can listen to their podcast. We have an impromptu guest speaker musician. I would like to welcome Magic Mama. She is an eco-edutainer. Say that. Seriously, eco-edutainer, it's so fun. Come on.
Thank you. I would like just to plant a seed in your consciousness in the form of the nature of this little jingle. It's super fragile, cannibalistic, must be Monsantosis, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If we say it loud enough, hey, ban these GMOs! It's super fragile, cannibalistic, must be Monsantosis.
I wish I could now say, and now a brief word from our sponsors. But it's too late. I've named all of them. So thank you. You guys are our sponsors as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Everybody that contributed. Everybody that painted a sign and showed up. You are all just wonderful. Next, we're going to invite Steve Supan from the Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy, also known as IATP. So if you didn't know that IATP means the Institute for Agriculture and Trade Policy, now you do. Steve is a senior policy analyst at IATP, where he's worked since 1993. He began his work there by translating German veterinary journals to find out why German veterinarians were opposed to using Monsanto's recombinant bovine growth hormone on dairy cattle. Steve represents Consumers International at the Codex Alimentarius Commission and the International Food Standards Organization, whose standards are presumed to be authoritative by the World Trade Organization. He writes the Global Food Safety Monitor, an electronic bulletin that explains U.S. food safety regulation and diplomacy to an international readership. And he's been researching the application of nanotechnology to food and agriculture since 2007. Earlier this month, IATP published his Nanomaterials in Our Soil, Our Future Food Chain, an essay on the use of submolecular-sized metal oxides in fertilizer products. Thank you. Steve.
Well, thank you very much for being here today. On behalf of IATP, I'd like to thank you all for your activism on these very important issues surrounding the control and the future of our food supply and our agricultural system. Unfortunately, our president, Jim Harkness, couldn't be here today because he's in China doing work on the industrial meat system that is basically started in the United States and now is globalized around the world. I've got just a couple of objectives today. The chief one being to get all of you to write to Senators Franken and Klobuchar and to tell them to support an amendment that has just been put into the Farm Bill by Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon. This amendment, the purpose of this amendment is to strip out a provision that was snuck in at midnight, literally, in the last budget resolution. This was an amendment to the budget resolution written by Monsanto, put into the must-pass budget resolution that basically suspends the application of the National Environmental Protection Act. Right now, you have to have a full environmental impacts assessment whenever you have a new crop introduced. And this bill basically kills the National Environmental Protection Act because the Center for Food Safety in Washington, D.C. has successfully sued the Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Department of Agriculture for failing to conduct proper risk assessment studies. And for this reason, they want to basically circumvent the law. Thank you. There we go. I want to go back a little bit, however, to try to put this this request of mine in a broader context. Because Monsanto has been circumventing the law for a real long time. And their claims that the regulations that supposedly declare their products to be safer based on science are also bogus. As Abby said, so my first encounter with Monsanto was back in 1993 when I first joined IATP. And at that time, European veterinarians were refusing to use recombinant bovine growth hormone on dairy cattle to increase the milk production by about 20% because of all of the terrible things that it did to dairy cattle. And that was on the label of the Postalac RBGH product. And then the United States tried to concoct a mutual recognition agreement with the European Union to try to get the European Union to basically set aside its animal welfare laws so that Monsanto could export this product to Europe. Well, flash forward 20 years later, and Monsanto and the State Department and the USDA are still trying to get international approval at the Codex Alimentarius Commission to require all countries to accept the use of this product, which Monsanto no longer owns. It's now owned by Dow Elanco. But it's a terrible product. It does terrible things to cattle. It ends their lives, and all for a very dubious increase in dairy production at a time when there's really too much milk in this country in terms of what farmers can make a living on. One of the things that Monsanto often talks about is sound science. That its products are backed by sound science. Sound science is a PR slogan that was concocted to try to make the argument that secondhand smoke didn't have any effect on health. Okay, so this is a bizarre use of the idea of science, because the science that is presented to the Environmental Protection Agency, to the Food and Drug Agency, is not peer-reviewed science. What gets presented are voluntary presentations by the company of the science that its own scientists have done. And I want to read to you a paraphrase of a letter that Monsanto or other transgenic manufacturers would get, declaring that their products are, quote, safe, unquote. What these letters say, and this is almost verbatim, the letter doesn't say peer-reviewed science and independent testing have found your products to be safe. What it says instead is, we understand that according to data that you have submitted voluntarily to the agency, mostly is confidential business information, so you can't see what that data is, that you understand the products derived from this transgenic event to be safe as their conventional counterparts under the 1986 Framework Agreement on Biotechnology Regulation. It is your responsibility to ensure the continued safety of these products. So that's what safety is, okay? And this is what then our government spends enormous amounts of money marketing for the company. I can recommend to you wonderful work being done by Michael Hansen at Consumers Union, Bill Fries at the Center for Food Safety, Doug Sherman-Gurian at the Union of Concerned Scientists, that can give you much more detail about what an actual approval process looks like. So I'd like to talk with you a little bit about the broader context of how the U.S. government supports Monsanto even when the Department of Justice has found that Monsanto has violated U.S. law. And here's a few examples of this. Back in 2004, Monsanto bribed the Indonesian government, an official in the Indonesian government, to approve GMOs for import into its country. The agents of the Justice Department, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, had Monsanto cold. What should happen when you've violated a U.S. law is that you lose all contracts, and Monsanto has hundreds of millions of dollars of U.S. government contracts. Instead, the Justice Department, under pressure from the Bush administration, applied a doctrine called deferred prosecution. Deferred prosecution is what you do to juvenile delinquents. You basically say, okay, if you don't do this crime again for 3 years, we're going to wipe the criminal record away. We're going to give you a clean record. So they gave Monsanto this deferred prosecution, $1 million fine, which hardly pays for their stationery. And they were allowed to keep all their contracts. Some of these contracts are really choice. There's a remarkable article that was just published by Food and Water Watch in Washington, D.C. on the basis of 936 WikiLeaks documents. And it shows basically the State Department going around and threatening countries, especially small African countries, saying, if you don't accept these GMOs, if you don't change your seed laws, well, you may not get preferential access to U.S. to export what you provide to the international marketplace, and so on and so forth. And then there are other threats implied. One of the things that's so bizarre about this is that the governments of Ghana and Kenya are not asking for genetically modified number 2 yellow corn. What they want, because 40% of their food rots in the fields for lack of cold storage facilities, lack of market roads, lack of drying sheds. So this is what they're asking for help to build. And instead, what we give them are Monsanto pesticides and Monsanto transgenically modified seeds. Another thing that our U.S. Trade Representative has done is when the U.S. lost a decision at the World Trade Organization because of our cotton subsidies, Brazil had the right to $800 million of retaliation against the United States every year. So the U.S. Trade Representative managed to bargain this down to giving Brazil $144 million every year of Monsanto seeds and pesticides. So our government is spending our tax dollars on $144 million of seeds and pesticides in order to buy off Brazil from having further retaliation for a decision that we lost at the World Trade Organization. Now, an honest company doesn't bribe foreign officials. It doesn't buy them indirectly by employing them as lobbyists to rewrite the laws, as they've done in Mexico, as they've done in dozens of countries. And because this company is desperate, because it has a lot of junk bond, a lot of debt rated at junk bonds, they are desperate to remove the Environmental Protection Act. And so what they did is, during the negotiations on the budget resolution in March, is they had Roy Blount, the senator from Missouri, drop in a provision in a budget resolution that had to pass unless the government was simply going to break down. And what this provision said was, farmers may plant genetically altered sugars, I think it's sugar beet seed and alfalfa and other transgenic products, even if they have not been subject to a full environmental impact assessment, which is required by the National Environmental Protection Act. So one of the reasons that it's crucial that you write to Senators Franken and Klobuchar and say, This is a company that routinely violates the law. Why are you supporting them? Why don't you stand up and show the Senate that we still live in a country that's run by the rule of law and not by the rule of Monsanto? By doing this, you're not only going to restore the rule of law, but farmers are just getting hammered now because the Monsanto products are failing. We now have more than 61 million acres in this country of superweeds. The promise that Monsanto always made was that one application of Roundup would take care of everything, no problems. Now farmers are putting on 3 and 4 applications of Monsanto. So they're losing money. You're having a more poison product, and now the solution that Monsanto is presenting is basically to ask the USDA and the EPA to approve a corn seed, soybeans that are genetically altered to resist dicamba and 2,4-D, which are basically cousins of Agent Orange. Those of you who are old enough to know what Agent Orange did, both to human health and environmental health, will be horrified that this is even being considered. In order to ensure that these products never come on the market, we have to have a strong Environmental Protection Act. We have to have senators who are willing to stand up to midnight drop-in resolutions and will say, we can't do this anymore. We can't do this anymore because, among other reasons, we have a very inexpensive way of avoiding the need for these products, and that is rotate the crops. Right now we have corn on corn planting, which basically invites all the pest infestation that we now have. So by supporting Senator Jeff Merkley's amendment, which was just introduced on Monday night, you can reestablish the rule of law. You can reestablish our environment, and you can support farmers and the food that we eat. Thank you very much. I believe that there's a postcard that is supposed to be going around to, okay, so good. So we're going to support this amendment, and we are going to beat back Monsanto. Thank you very much.
Hello. Thank you, Steve. Before we move on, I have been asked to point out the frequent separation between urban and rural. It is so easy in our urban communities to forget that agricultural law impacts us in our day-to-day. It's even easier for our legislators to forget. If you live in Minneapolis, if you live in St. Paul, if you live in one of the first-ring suburbs, it is so important that you are not just emailing, not just calling, but straight up badgering your legislator about these issues. They believe we don't care. They believe that our only concerns are urban concerns, and that is clearly not true. So call daily, weekly, every few days. You know right where the Capitol is now, and it's an easy shot, right? 94, Kellogg and Marion, and then there are signs to direct you the rest of the way. Come and knock on these people's doors. They need to understand that we all are invested in our agricultural system. The bulk of the population of this state is right here in the Twin Cities. Our voices need to be as loud as our proportion is in the state. So yes, do not shy away. These are not This is not separated by urban and rural. We are all invested. And more so than that, everybody that comes after us needs us to do it. Yes. Thank you. Okay, now I will introduce Gabe Barnett. Gabe Barnett has been performing his politically charged folk songs and danceable blues around the country for the past decade. He was City Page's 2009 Best Folk Artist. Be sure to catch him and his backing band, the Big House Rounders, every Monday all summer long at Grumpy's Northeast in Northeast Minneapolis, and every Tuesday in July at the 331 Club in Northeast Minneapolis. Gabe Barnett, would you like to enter the stage?
Thank you. If you've been able to hear what's going on up here today, give a round of applause to our sound man, Mr. Paul Flynn. Sound men are the unsung heroes of events like this. So you're pissed about Monsanto, companies like ADM and Cargill, genetically modified, hormone-pumped foods. But we only have ourselves to blame. As the consumer, we do this to ourselves. The next time you're feeling lazy and you want a Burger King cheeseburger or a frozen pizza, remind yourself that you're only shooting yourself in the foot with those things. But I won't talk about it, I'll sing about it. I've worked in your factories, I've worked in your fields, and or your lunch counters where I earned my last meal, and or that lunch counter I hear people say, time's getting tough, they're getting tougher, and tougher and tougher each day. So o'er that lunch counter I see her playing the game. You're looking for someone, anyone to blame. Pointing your fingers, how you're pointing your toes. You're blaming everyone but you and me for our woes. But we make careers out of jobs that we hate. Spend 3 times on credit the amount that we make. Buying crap we don't need, drowning in debt. Willingly leading lives filled with complaints and regret. exploit those below us, bow to those above. Never getting closer to leading that life we could love. Didn't build this Tower of Babel, didn't draft its design. But we do as we're told when we're told to climb. This tower's gonna crumble, you'll admit that it's true. But the decision to climb down's only up to you. As for me, I'm climbing down and I'll proudly profess binding myself to this faulty idea of success. Now climbing down might take some sacrifice, might take few inconveniences as vice. The newest car, biggest TV, and fast, easy food ain't really that worth it if they're killing you. So for this lunch counter I've got in a grasp of this faulty tiered system and why it can't last. It just seems so damn simple to me. If we stop demanding change, then we'll be set free. So this unsustainable farming practice business isn't new. There's an old song written back when we were dealing with things like recessions and topsoil blowing away back in the 1930s. I didn't write it because I was still in elementary school then. It's a mighty hard road that my poor feet have. Excuse me, my cheat sheet fell down. It's a mighty hard road that my poor hand has hold. My poor feet have traveled a hot, dusty road. How Out of your dust bowl and westward we rode, and your desert was hot and your mountains was cold. I've worked in your orchards of peaches and prunes, slept on the ground neath the light of your moon. On the edge of your cities you will see us, and then we come with the dust and we blow with the wind. California, Arizona, we harvest your crops, then it's north up to Oregon to harvest your house. Dig the beets from your gown, cut the grapes from your vine, to set on your table your light sparkling wine. Green pastures of plenty from dry desert ground, from the Grand Coulee Dam where the waters run down. Every state in this union us migrants have been. We'll work in this fight and we'll fight till we win. 'Cause it's always we ramble, this river and I, along your green valley I will work till I die. This land I'll defend with my life if it be for my pastures of plenty must always be free. Always I ramble this river and I, along your green valley I will work till I die. This land I'll defend with my life if it be for my pastures of plenty must always be free. Thank you very much. Y'all don't mind if I try something new out on you, dude? I literally just finished writing this song here in this parking lot just a little bit ago. It's real simple if you want to try and sing along. All you gotta do is shout right back with me, it's in your food. Cause you see, turns out that all the problems of this strange planet Earth stem back to what we grow and what we eat. It's the truth. About tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, wishing you had time to borrow. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, wishing you had time to borrow. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about oil prices, it's in your food. If you're worried about oil prices, it's in your food. You want your veggies out of season, they gotta ship them from New Zealand. If you're worried about oil prices, they're in your food. If you're about the environment, it's in your food. If you're worried about the environment, it's in your food. Our lakes and rivers we're harming with unsustainable farming. If you're worried about the environment, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, wishing you had time to borrow. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about the economy, it's in your food. If you're worried about the economy, it's in your food. Seems, well, we'll all be corporate slaves when there's no small farmers left to save. If you're worried about the economy, it's in your food. If you're worried about your health, it's in your food. If you're worried about your health, it's in your food. Seems self-explanatory to me, you know you are what you eat. If you're worried about your health, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, wishing you had time to borrow. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. Do you even know what's in your food? Do you even know what's in your food? Hormones, pesticides, genetically modified. Do you even know what's in your food? Do you even know who grows your food? Do you even know who grows your food? Cargill, ADM, Monsanto, just a few names you ought to know. Do you even know who grows your food? All together now. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, wishing you had time to borrow. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. One more. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, wishing you had time to borrow. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. If you're worried about tomorrow, it's in your food. It's true. I just wrote that one right over here in this parking lot. I think it's coming together. Make sure I'm still in tune here. So I guess we're running way ahead of schedule, which means I get to do like a 3-hour set instead of just 15 minutes, right? There's another sing-along. I know there's a few people out here that already know how to sing along to this one, so, you know, feel free to chime in and get everybody singing with you. I don't particularly consider myself a religious man, but I do find that there are some magnificent truths within all sorts of religious texts. The chorus of this song comes from the Christian Bible, which is packed full of magnificent truths. Whether it's absolute truth or not is debatable, I suppose. But one of those magnificent truths that's found in the Christian Bible is when that Jesus Christ character said that man cannot serve two masters. You can't serve both God and money. And I think that if you look around at all the problems of society, it comes from greed. Monsanto wouldn't be making GMO corn if they weren't making money off of it. They're making money off of it because we keep giving our money for it. But you can't serve God and money. And I'm not gonna go trying to define God. I don't know what it is, but I know those clouds are really pretty and these trees are really green and all these people are beautiful. It's the truth. And I'm gonna serve that long before I serve money. Because all that does is create war and dirty rivers and unbreathable air. And a lot of separation amongst human beings trying to square themselves off into different corners and point fingers. But it turns out that the love of money truly is the root of all evil. So if you want to join me singing along in this one, if you're not going to worship that greenback savior, but instead worship this beautiful cloud, green tree, beautiful people savior, then sing along. It goes like this. I won't worship your greenback savior. I won't kneel. No, I won't bow. I got no time to serve two masters. Can't put no faith in yours anyhow. Try it again. I won't worship your greenback savior. I won't kneel. No, I won't bow. I got no time to serve two masters. Can't put no faith in yours anyhow. And I won't worship your greenback savior. I won't kneel, no, I won't bow. Got no time to serve two masters. Can't put no faith in yours anyhow. No, no. Your greenback ladder. I won't set foot on a rung. All these people climbing over each other never seem to get much good done. So I won't worship your greenback savior. I won't kneel, no, I won't bow. Got no time to serve two masters. Can't put no faith in yours anyhow. No, no. By your greenback monster, won't let it crush me to the ground. I'm gonna raise up quite the army to tear that bad beast down. 'Cause I won't worship your greenback savior. I won't kneel, no, I won't bow. Got no time to serve two masters. Can't put no faith in yours anyhow. And I won't worship your greenback savior. I won't kneel, no, I won't bow. Got no time to serve two masters. Can't put no faith in yours anyhow. Thanks for coming out and stop buying those frozen pizzas.
almost scarier to talk to the folks that are here because I can see you all so very tangibly than it was to talk to a mass. Isn't that strange? Oh, thank you. I love you too. That's it. That's our show. Thank you guys so very, very much. If you happen to have the time or are willing to help tear down, that would be utterly appreciated. If you don't have the time or aren't willing, I absolutely demand that you pick up trash that you see on your way out, because they're gonna fine us for it. The banana boxes in between the tents are trash and recycling cans. Please follow the campsite rule, which does not actually imply that you're gonna sleep there, but does imply that you need to leave it better than you found it. Thank you guys so much. This has been awesome. Hopefully we'll do it again next year. And next year there'll be 500 cities around the globe instead of 350, and we'll have 5,000 people like we dreamed instead of the 2,000 that showed up. And gradually we will take over the world. Total fail! If you lost your cell phone and can describe it to me, I can return it to you. I will be around. I'm wearing the same coat I've been wearing all day, and I'm the person that keeps standing up here talking to you. Thanks.